No, I appreciate you guys coming here, and it's a couple of days to reflect on what we need to do for an adjustment standpoint for our team. We had a great team dinner with our coaches' families and our kids last night to understand that we're all behind them, and we're ready to go for this week and be competitive in our game coming up. So, fire away.
Coach, the purpose of that dinner you mentioned.
Yes.
How are the guys responding to Saturday's game? How are they doing moving forward?
The purpose for the dinner, I've always had a Sunday night dinner in our family since I was a little kid, and that's an important part to celebrate the successes that we've had during the week, and that's my dinner table, and also to go over things that we need to work on. And last night, I thought all of our coaches brought their families and kids and spent time with our kids in here to also know that when things don't go right, we're all here for you. And then, of course, we want the celebration part, and everybody celebrates, but with our closest family. And that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to promote with our kids. I love their fight. I love what they're going to give me, and I want to make sure that they know that they're supported from outside and our coaches' families and everybody else. So it was a great thing that we did on a training table. There are about 170 people in that area, and we shared a dinner for about 45 minutes. We did not talk football at all. It's everything else besides football, and our kids enjoyed it.
Michelle, and Chris.
Hi, Shaun Rubino, Devil's
doing,
Digest. I know it was a very rough outing for Emory Jones on Saturday night, and I know changing a quarterback mid-game is probably the most difficult decision for coaching staff to make. A, were there any thoughts about that taking place on Saturday probably, and B, what is the thinking now going forward in that specific aspect?
There wasn't thought. It's, to me, we'll take responsibility, maybe simplify what he needs to do. Maybe we're too complicated, so we'll take that on as a coaching staff. Making sure that he's comfortable with what we're asking him to do, especially against a formidable opponent like Utah. Maybe we were asking too much in regards to the schematics of the game. But we'll take it. I never had any thought of changing a quarterback. He's my guy. I'm going to roll with him. Every time he came off the field, I could see that his head was down because he wants it so bad. And sometimes we got to take a step back and see what matters to him. What is he seeing on the field? And in those conversations are conversations that we'll have on the sideline. But I'm going to roll with Emory, and he knows that I have his back as well.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona
Hi,
Republic. You guys were depleted at the secondary in that game. Can you kind of talk about the personnel situation moving forward? The players that were out, are any of them expected back?
I think a lot of them are expected back. It's day by day, but I think they're expected back. How I look at it, everybody says the next man up. And from a preparation standpoint, anybody that is in that second or third spot needs to prepare like they are starters because they're only one play away of being that guy. I thought Isaiah Johnson did a great job. He had his moments that were there mistakes and young mistakes. There were young mistakes. He had dirty eyes on a couple of plays. But overall, he gave me everything he got. He made some great plays on some pass breakups and a tackle down on fourth down. And so I'm happy with that, knowing that those guys that are in the second and third and fourth string are preparing like they are starters. And that gives me a lot of satisfaction on that side. However, I do think that we'll be ready with our guys back. I'm going to get a prognosis today on from a medical standpoint on where those guys are on a Monday.
What's the situation with the Markham twins?
It's a personal situation that I'm going to keep them away from the team for right now, but it's just a personal for both of them. I think it's hard on them in regards to the coaching change, so we've been talking, however.
Chris and then Tim.
Hey, Shaun.
Hey, Chris.
Chris Carmen, son of a source. As you know, football success has so many different variables and parts to it. So as you evaluate kind of the state of things right now, where would you say are the areas where you maybe need the most development, and how do you sort of bridge doing the bigger picture things with the in-season preparation, game-to-game things?
Absolutely. I think there's deficiencies on all levels, I think, in all three phases that we can work on. A big deficiency I see right now is our third down conversion on offense. staying ahead of the chains on the offensive side. I thought our guys, I went over with them yesterday, I thought they worked their butts off on first and second down into getting into long situations on third down, 9 of them, and that they were successful only 2 of the 9 times. And so they got to a point where they're put themselves in a situation for 3rd and 7 and longer, and then we did not defend that. And so we're taking the 3-down mentality. How do we get off the field in 3 downs? And so don't work the first 2 and then take a lax a moment and have a 3rd down and they converting. We all know, and everybody in the world knows, that the passing game scheme at the chains on 3rd down, that's where it's going to be. So how do we, from a football intelligence, help our kids understand that, where they got to be from whatever schematic that we come up with? But those are things that we need to work on. I thought that, again, we need attention to detail on a lot of things. We had a couple moments that I thought, from a schematic standpoint, our guys didn't understand from a protection standpoint where things are coming from, that we need to make sure that we change up. But there's a lot of stuff that, from an in-game perspective, that we are paying attention to detail. I'm giving our guys more meeting time for teaching. I think that is and correction. You know, sometimes we only have a certain amount of time to make those corrections, but it's important for us to go back and make those corrections and teach more than having more plays on the field without going back and reflecting on that part of it. And so I'm holding our coaches accountable to make sure that they're concise with their meetings and making sure that there's corrections made so kids understand what they're doing wrong and not letting those things go on and on.
So how do you strike the right balance of preparing for USC or any other opponent versus all the development that you're talking about? Are you able to find a good formula for that?
Absolutely. I think, it's a day-by-day process. We talk about stacking the days, and those days are stackable wins. Did we win in the meeting room? Did it transition to the field at practice? Did we make the corrections from the day before, and we're not making the same mistakes that happened the day before? All of those things are stackable days. Now, it is a process because I really feel kids are kids. Their attention span is small, and how do we keep their attention span and where they can translate whatever they've learned from the meeting room and walkthroughs and translate it for them on the field? Sometimes it takes longer for some, and their learning styles are different. Some guys are not just visual learners, they're kinesthetic learners that have to be walked through the process. And so I need to make sure that our coaches are taking the best approach for our guys to learn from an intelligence standpoint what the game is about.
Shaun, Nesta Jade Silvera posted a double-digit tackle total Saturday night, which is almost unheard of for an interior defensive lineman. Can you talk about his play?
And who is that, Tim?
Nesta Jade
Oh,
Silvera.
Nesta, yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about his play and what it is about him that makes him so good and able to make so many tackles at a spot that normally doesn't?
Absolutely. I think especially the interior guys, the guys that are successful, they have motors every single play. It's funny that you say that. Yesterday in our team meeting, he is an individual that I called out because not only was he playing terrific in the meeting at halftime, at the end of the game, 5 minutes at the end of the game, he was always passing on that positive message to all of our kids. So he was successful on the field, and then he was successful getting our kids together. That took a lot because he's a transfer guy, and so that took a lot for him. And I'm a guy that watches. The kids call me the ninja because I'm always watching. I'm always around watching. But he did a great job, and so I made sure that everybody knew that. And now the bad part about it for him is I'm going to ask him to expand on that every single day. And how does he hold himself accountable to do that all the time?
Is it that motor that makes him so effective as a defensive lineman?
I think it is. It's that motor and then his leverage. He has great leverage and plays with that leverage. And because I think from a height standard, he's a little bit shorter, but he's a rock in that middle that can play 2 defenders at one time. But it's his motor and effort that will get him to the quarterback and make tackles for losses on running backs as well.
Jordan? Tim, you want to pass it over?
Hey, Jordan.
then Hode and Richard after.
Jordan Hamm, Sports 360 AZ. Coach, with Emery, how would you assess how he's been able to implement his legs and be a part of the run game, and how can you as a coaching staff maximize him in that part of the game?
You know, I think we saw a little bit of it when he started the second half. We're learning as well. Coach Glenn Thomas is learning what I want as well, and for Emery to be involved in the passing game. I think it goes back to playing basketball. If you can't make that outside shot, then you have to make sure we drive to make a layup. And so if we can't get the passing game started, then I'm going to get you involved somewhere else that you can be effective from a confidence level and for productivity with our team. And so we're learning. He's learning from me as well. But I'm going to use him any way that I can to win football games and be productive and stay ahead of the chains, especially on first down.
Would you like to see more designed runs for him to try to get involved?
I'd like to see more protected design runs for him because we need to protect him as well.
Hode, Richard, then Chris.
So, Shaun, obviously, Daniel Ngata is a player that they're very familiar with as a running backs coach. You said you always wish you could give him more opportunities. He really shined as a kick returner against Utah. How gratifying was it for you to see him really grow into that role, and what do you expect from him forward as a returner?
He came up to me at the beginning of the season and he said, "Coach, I'm a kick returner. I need to do more." And I said, "Here's the deal. DJ Taylor's back there right now. You be consistent. You do everything right. You'll have an opportunity to compete for that." He's competed for that and won the job. And so I always make sure that those guys understand every job is up for competition. Whoever gets the job done, I think potential leads to firing. I mean, that's just the way I feel. If you plan on potential, I think that you're getting yourself in trouble. And so he's done the job. He's the guy. Now I'm asking him to be more of a part of the offense and be a complement to X as well. So he has a lot on his plate. For the first time coming off the field, he is so intrinsically competitive that he's hard on himself a lot of the time. But he came off the field, even though that we weren't in victory at the end of the field, he came off with a smile that I haven't seen for a long time. And so I got him. He's all in.
Coach, Richard
Richard.
Science, Fox 10. You kind of talked about, kids' demeanor as they come off the field. There's obviously a challenging time with the competition on the field and what's going on off the field in the transition. How much do you think you can find out what this team is made of when it comes to players and coaches? Because when you're winning, everybody's happy.
Absolutely.
When you're going through a tough time is when you find out the real character of certain individuals.
Yeah, and it all starts with me. I told them yesterday I'm going to be the rock for them. It is going to be hard. This is the hardest week because now the honeymoon stage of that first week is over. How do I keep that intensity? How do I inspire? When they don't see the outcome the way they do? And kids always go back to what they're used to. How do I keep them motivated and going? And that's a job for myself. Our kids have been incredible in regards to that. We're speaking the same language. We're talking about stacking days. We're talking about 1% a day. So last week we were 4% better because we stacked 4 days. I'm going to stack tomorrow at practice, and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday will make us 8% better. How do we get better every day where that outcome is going to finally fall in our way? I was talking to Jeremy walking down. This game is a game of inches. I showed a clip last night to the kids where Tamarcus Davis in the end zone on fourth down, the ball went off of his fingertips, and that could have been an interception, and they bobbled it and got a touchdown. So it's a game of inches that can go either way. The ball didn't fall in our place, so we are right there. Now, when you stack days, good things will come, and so that's the message that I'm giving to them. And I told them, just be careful because I will be relentless every single day. And so you got to understand where I'm coming from, and they've bought in. Now, are there going to be some pushback? There's going to be some pushback, absolutely. But how do I inspire them to follow me and follow our coaching staff? That's something that I feel that I do pretty well, and I'll get them going. Thank you, Richie.
Chris, and then in the back.
Shaun, you had some comments about recruiting in the state a week ago, and just wanted to see. We went to a big high school game. Just wanted to see kind of what the feedback has been to you about the things that maybe you said, or obviously you've heard plenty of things over the years, but anything that's maybe more new or recent based upon your comments in the last week.
I don't think anything new. I think the excitement because I was there. And I will personally, like I said, I will personally go and recruit Arizona. We had as many kids on the sideline for unofficial visits that we've ever had. And I personally wanted to make sure that I get up to every single one of them. And the guys that I think that can help us immediately next year was guys that I paid close attention to and let them know that I want them. As the head coach, I want them. And I think that's, from a personal standpoint, it comes differently from a position coach than from the head coach. And I will personally make sure that I recruit that. I will be out every Friday night recruiting, try to get out on Thursday night that schools that we did not hit. But I'll do all my part in getting out there.
Back.
Chaz Messman, Interim Media. Where do you think that you guys actually match up well against USC? Obviously, they're a top 10 team, but how do you think you can take that down?
They're a very athletic team. There's one player that I think is doing really well, that I wish him the best. That is a linebacker that left us, and so I understand the athleticism. And I've always had a great relationship with Eric Gentry, and I wish him the best. And they got to do what's best for them. But how do we match up? I believe that we can take and exploit the athleticism, because sometimes athleticism leads to foundational play. And so we need to make sure that we take a part of making sure that our details are done and taken care of, and we play good, solid, foundational football, and then we'll see how that goes. But they're athletic. Every team we face is going to be athletic in the Pac-12, and so what gives us the edge is just making sure that we're fundamentally sound in the things that we do.
Coach, obviously it's your second week. How much more settled in do you feel this week? And are you making any changes, whether it's practice-wise or what you do, based on your experience last week? I'm in a learning process too, and so I'm going to make changes every single day, subtle changes that I think that will help our team. Is there changes? Yes. I want to make sure that our coaches and our kids are on their toes all the time. I don't believe in doing the same thing over and over all the time. There has to be sudden chaos a little bit. The harder the practice, and that's what I want to make sure, that the harder the practice, the game should be easier. And I want to make sure that Tuesday practice and Wednesday practice and Thursday practice has to be harder than what we're going to see on come Saturday. And so those are the changes that I've made. That will change every single day, but will there be changes? Yes. I'm never satisfied with things, and if I see, I'm the type of guy, if I see something that needs to be changed, I have no hesitation in changing. And it might not be popular with some of the kids or the coaches or the fans, but if it needs to be done, I'll do it.
Right. Coach, we always talk about potential performance and that gap that exists.
Absolutely.
Where's this team's potential versus their performance at this point?
I think from a talented standpoint, I think we have the potential. From a detail-oriented, where I really want them, I think we are not performing the way I think that we should. Now, hopefully we close that gap. I don't think we'll ever get to a point where I think they're going to be perfect, because I just don't believe in that, and I'll always find something. But are we underperforming that we should? I think so, based upon our talent level. So how do I go about every day implementing something to get us and closing that gap, Coach? We're working on that. I want to make sure that every kid plays up to their potential, every single play. And how do I get that? I've got them to play every play based upon the effort that they gave me. And I was very happy with the effort, because there's no quit in them. Now it's the potential of doing things right all the time on plays and doing your job. That's the hard part. And so I'll make sure that we close that gap until we play up to our potential.
Noah?
Hey, Coach. No Furtado, son of Source. I'm not sure how closely or how much you guys have kind of got into your preparation for USC, but looking at sort of how high-powered of an offense they have in terms of personnel, how much of Oregon State, what they did, holding them 17 points this past weekend, do you think is replicable with what you have?
You know, from a defensive standpoint, we want to make sure the offense is off the field. From an offensive standpoint, we need to make sure that we control the time. We need to make sure that we are moving the ball effectively to control the time as well. Whenever you have a high-powered offense, you want to make sure that they're not on the field, they don't get rhythm, they don't make those big plays to put you back in a catch-up mode the whole time. And so from an offensive standpoint, how do we find ourselves getting those 10, 11, 12 play drives to keep the offense on the field so they don't get a rhythm? That's going to be our focus this week. How do we move the chains? I don't care how we move the chains, but how effective are we on first down to stay ahead of the chains? How are we keeping them off balance on second and third downs? And so we are effectively moving the chains. I'm a guy that will be aggressive on fourth down if we have to. And those decisions that are going to be made all affect me making sure that USC is not on the field from an offensive standpoint. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.